huge reminder before we get to today's video, with the mutant update around the corner, you want to be saving up as many mutant materials as you can and sort of keeping your materials as close to the capacity, as close to the cap of 6K as possible. You can see here, I've got about 5,600 Mcron crystals, 5,300, you know, what is that? Phoenix feathers, and I'm doing that on purpose. It's not a coincidence. I'm just spending just enough so that I don't hit the cap and waste any with the crafting. And so I'm just doing this, but keeping it very, very close. You want to be as close to the max as possible to 6K when the update lands next week, because it's going to require a lot of materials. Like Havoc for sure is going to require all those materials. So is Hope, so is Exodus, so is Goblin Queen. Like, they should all be mutants. We haven't really talked about their element, like what typing they're going to be. They're probably all going to be, you know, combat speed and blast. There's never been a universal mutant originally. There have been universal mutants with uniforms, but you know, her base typing is actually blast. Jean's base typing is blast, and I actually don't believe there's any other mutant. I think she's the only one. Yeah, she's the only one. So yeah. Anywho, that doesn't really matter too much because the Nornstones and shit don't really matter because I'm Mcron shards. But yeah, save up your shit so that you're ready for the update. Now, this is not to do with the update, but I was basically thinking, I hit 500 million gold, and I was like, wow, that's like a lot of gold. You know, I was ping-ponging between 2 and 4 million gold for the past few years, and I always try to have at least 200 million gold ready in case they drop another native tier 2 or another native tier 3. Especially native tier 3s, because those cost about 100 million to build up, and I want to build those up day one. You know what I'm saying? But 500 million, man, like that's a lot. I don't really need 500 million gold for my purposes. And actually, just recently, to give you guys an update on my gains, I just got another perfect sword today. I was watching Naruto. I'm finally watching one of the sort of classic foundational animes that introduced you know, manga and shit to Western audiences. And yeah, I got a perfect scarab sword. I'm really happy. I also re-rolled. You can see here I have a bunch of leftover swords. I was busy re-rolling my swords. And I actually encourage you to do this. Even if you only have like 1 or 2 perfect swords, re-roll them. By all means, re-roll them. And now you should re-roll them with stuff like this, what you see over here, where it's basically, it looks like, you know, the pride flag. Or it looks like a bunch of Skittles or M&Ms. It's not a homophobic thing, guys. Come on, I'm just making a joke. But yeah, you should basically when you're enhancing swords, I know I told you guys, like, if you miss after 3 or if you miss after 4, just dismantle the sword. But if you get up to 3, like for example this sword right here, you can see this one right here is 3 orange, and then I failed on the 4th one and I got to purple. Normally I would just trash it at that point, but actually a better piece of advice is to save them and to get them all the way up to 6, and then take these M&M Skittles swords and then use them. As you can see here, if I want to change the option on this one, I can use any of these as fodder, and it costs 100,000 gold. Now, you don't want to awaken them. You don't want to awaken the sword. You don't have to do that. You don't have to awaken it in order to use it as fodder. If you want to use it as fodder for your agent level, though, then you do want to awaken it. Because as you can see here, I should just filter by sword. If I filter by sword, you see it doesn't show anything, because it doesn't take, the agent badge doesn't take 6-star swords that are not already enchanted. But if I go back here and I enchant this one and I'm like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to get. It's going to be some shitty 3-star green, right? I'm not going to use this. Obviously, I have a 5-star green already equipped. But now if I go back to my agent and I go back to the badge and I want to sacrifice that sword, boom, it's there. And you know what? It gives a decent chunk. It gives a decent chunk. Comic cards, I believe, give the most. Actually, I think it gives the same amount as comic cards, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's actually a very, very good. It's basically the best value you can get for the agent level bonuses if you want to pump your agent level. And if you're wondering why would you want to pump your agent level bonus, well, if you can get to the top, I believe 1,500 or something like that for agent, or top 2,000 for agent rank bonus, then you get a +5 all attack. So it's pretty nice. It's nicer than some comic card collections, which people spend crystals on. So, and this doesn't cost any crystals. So it's actually really nice. But yeah, going back to the swords, you actually do want to save up a bunch like this to re-roll however many perfect swords you have. Don't re-roll the swords that are not perfect because you're going to be replacing them in the future. But the ones that are perfect, you should re-roll. And the reason why you should re-roll them is because there's some very important stats that can give you a pretty massive advantage that you might be leaving on the table. So for example, the fourth option is, you can get Justice, Cruelty, Order, or Destruction, or you can get Concentration. Now, that might not seem like very much, right? 1 to 2% concentration. You're like, Alex, didn't you tell people that getting 5% concentration on a card was terrible? Well, it was, because it was 5% concentration or 5% pierce. But now you can have 25% pierce on your cards, and you can get 1 to 2% concentration on every single sword. So if you take a look, I have 1.4% concentration on this sword. I have 1.1 on this sword. I have 1.5 on this sword, and I have 1.5 on this sword. So now you go over to my characters, and you're like, let's look at a character like Dr. Octopus, who charges up his tier 3 and his tier 4 really fast. And he spams a lot of skills. And the Enrage proc, it only charges up with every skill use. Let's take a look at his concentration. Wow, he's got 6.7% almost 7% concentration. Guess what? The concentration, if you look on the CTP, it says increases crit damage by 300% regardless of the max limit, and an additional amount equal to 60% of concentration. And the concentration also helps you to charge up your Mighty Judgments faster by running around, and charge up your Mighty Rages faster and your Mighty Destructions faster by running around. Concentration increases that. Not only does it increase that, but then it increases the effects. You can see here, this refinement is going to recover 25% per second, and an additional amount equal to 50% of my concentration. Well, what's his concentration? 6.7. I understand. 50% of 6.7 is not a very large number. You're talking like 3.5%. I'm not saying that I went crazy for an extra 3.5%, but you know what? 3.5%, now that you think about it, is not bad on 25%, right? That's not bad. That's close to a fifth. That's close to a 20% increase. That's not bad at all, right? Because a fifth of 25 is 5. So that's actually not bad at all. And what did it cost me, right? It didn't cost me anything, because I had a bunch of this this shit that you use to enchant, right? I had a bunch of the Runes of the Unknown. I only have about 1,300 now, but I had a bunch before. And then I had a bunch of these swords that were sort of failed, experiments. I was the mad scientist, and I had a bunch of failed experiments. So you just go in and you roll them around. Now, if you want to get even more crazy, if you have some crystals to spend, you want to really like min-max your shit, if you like PvP, then you can also look to the rolls here that add or decrease damage to specific abilities by up to 10%. Some of them are better than others, but as you can see here, increases basic damage dealt to enemies with strong, or increases or decreases basic damage received from enemies with strong. Strong and machine are the best rolls here because of the characters that fall into those tags, and then hitting 10% is really good. So you want to see like, okay, well, who is strong that you care about for PvP? So you can see here all these characters are strong, and if you decrease the damage that they're dealing to you, or if you increase the damage that you're dealing to them, then it can matter. It doesn't matter so much right now, but eventually Gilgamesh, Luke Cage, these characters will swing back into the meta. Colossus will get a tier 4, etc., etc. What about Machine? Machine is probably a little bit more forward thinking. Where the hell is Machine, dude? I'm blind. But for Machine, you have characters like... Oh, I thought Dr. Doom was here. Machine's actually terrible. I thought Machine was way better than this. Whoa, Machine's garbage. Yeah, there's basically nobody here for PvP. Never mind. So Machine's trash. I was wrong about that. But yeah, I should probably re-roll that at some point. But yeah, so you probably only want to aim for, on that one specifically, on the Scarab Sword, you probably only want to aim for strong, because I don't think there's anybody that good with shock for PvP. But keep in mind, each sword is different. So you can see for the Warlock Sword, or let's choose a completely different color. Rather than the orange, for the purple sword, if you go to change option, rather than re-rolling for 10% for strong and shock and machine, you can see here it's durability, energy projection, and poison. Now, spoiler alert, poison doesn't have anybody good. But durability is not bad, and energy projection is not bad either. Those are both good for different reasons. So if you go back and look again, you can filter by durability. Man, I'm struggling here. Durability, and you have Thanos and Hulk, and then potentially in the future, Emma Frost, Apocalypse, etc., right? Black Dwarf, Juggernaut, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, right? You have quite a few. So if you're either increasing damage dealt to durability types or decreasing the damage they deal to you by 10%, this all adds up over time. And then what was the other one? It was energy projection. I think this one is a bit more PvP or PvE focused rather than PvP focused. Yeah, you got mostly PvE characters here, but hey, Sentry, Molecule Man, Strife, Captain Marvel to an extent, Blue Marvel to an extent, you know, Icarus perhaps in the future, right? So you do have some here as well. So you sort of have to pay attention. You have to do a little bit of digging on your own to sort of figure out what's what. I don't want to give you guys every little detail and every little secret here, because there is actually a lot more to swords than first met the eye. I know for some people, they kind of don't care and they've abandoned this system and they sort of just take what they can get and they're just rolling, hoping to see a 5-star sword, and they'd be perfectly happy with a 5-star, let alone a 6-star. But eventually you will get your hands on a couple of 6-stars. So just remember to keep some of these around, if not just in, you know, just awakening them, like we said here, and then converting them into agent badge. If nothing else, right, even if it doesn't get you into that top 1500 or top 2000 to get the 5% attack, the elite agent one. Oh, there you go. You can see there it's top 2500. My bad. It's not even top 2000. So it's top 2500. Even if you don't want it for that reason, every time you level up your agent badge, you can see mine's 142. It's going to give you points that you can use here for all attack, all defense, you know, gold, whatever you want to use there. So there's value to the swords beyond just, you know, rolling and getting lucky for a particular one. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm really happy with the way my swords look right now. And if you're wondering if you have a similar outlook for your swords, and you're going to be employing this change option feature, you can lock the options. I didn't talk about this just yet, and I have done it myself. But for example, like if I was really happy with this one, but I wanted to make it even better for whatever reason, I would, you know, choose one of these, go like this, and then I would lock the stats that I want to keep, and then I would re-roll the other ones. This gets a little bit crazy, as you can see, just like cards, it goes up in cost. So locking one stat is 50 crystals, locking two is 100, then it goes to 150, then it goes to 300, then it goes to 500. It's exactly the same cost in crystals as the card crafting. The difference is that the swords are way easier to get, right? The swords are way easier, way cheaper to get than premium cards. And in this example, right, that's a premium card. The sword is equivalent in value here, letting you re-roll the stats to a premium card, which is crazy, right? And I don't think the swords have as much value for your roster as premium cards, don't get me wrong, but it absolutely adds up. And so if you're looking for an extra edge, if you found that you've sort of plateaued with your cards and you've plateaued with your builds, but you're still not happy with your performance, especially for PvP, look at your swords. Look at your swords, make some changes, make some adjustments, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the results. Now, if you have something that looks similar to mine or very close, and you're wondering what the next step is, in my opinion, the most cost-efficient step is to wait until the anniversary. I know that's still quite a ways away. It's like 4 months away. But wait until the anniversary. They'll bring back the bingo. The bingo will guarantee you a perfect sword at the 6th step. And that's the way that I'll get either a perfect blue sword or a perfect green sword. And in the meantime, I'm just saving up all of my runes of unknown. I usually save up till I have about 5,000 of them. And then I build up a bunch of swords. And what I do is whenever I build up a bunch of swords, like I build up a bunch of 1-star swords, this is when you would absolutely disenchant. So when I build up a bunch of 1-star swords, I don't bother to continue upgrading the ones that have the color that I've already maxed out. So I'll explain that again with a different example. But essentially, if you look at all of the 6-star swords that I do have here, none of them start with the colors that I've already maxed out. They're all blue, orange, or green, because those were the ones that I was still trying to nail to 6. So here, if I'm going to go disenchant, I'm going to disenchant all of the purple, all of the red, all of the yellow now, and all of the orange. It doesn't leave me with very many swords, and this is kind of a tedious thing to do. But this way, I can ensure that I'm using my Rune of Unknown more efficiently, rather than upgrading these other ones that I'm never going to use, right? Because even if it hits 6 red, it's not really that useful to me. Obviously, in the future, if I have all 6 perfect, then maybe you can start just randomly rolling and then seeing what you get, in case you get a perfect red sword that has 2% concentration in this example, right, and 4% cooldown. But even the cooldown, for example, right, you can see these swords can roll cooldown. So maybe if your cards are not perfect, or you don't have cooldown on one of your P card stats, look at that, 3.5% cooldown on this card. And then I have another 1.5 on this card. Oh, sorry, sword, not card. But I have cooldown on these 2 cards, right? That equals what? 5% cooldown from my swords. I keep saying cards, but yeah, it does. Oh, here you go. It tells you here. So in total, 6.8% concentration, 5% cooldown. 5% cooldown from my swords means that I could change one of my card stats if I wanted, right? That was cooldown. I could change that to crit rate or attack speed. And maybe if you have one rolled to crit rate or attack speed, then you don't have to re-roll it to cooldown anymore. So it saves you P cards. So swords can actually end up saving you P cards. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing between now and the anniversary for my swords. Like I said, I would then take these and I would then bulk enchant these again from 1 to 2. And then I would see how many of them hit doubles. The ones that don't hit doubles, you can just bulk disenchant. Hey, 4 is pretty nice. The bulk dismantle is pretty easy. You just auto select like this, and it chooses all the ones that have 1 defect. Boom, you're done. And then you're left with however many, 4 or 5, and then you would go bulk enchant there. And then they're probably all gonna miss because I need more than 4. But let's just see if we get any. Oh, 2 of them hit. Wow, 50-50. Okay. So then from here, I would go and I would enchant 1 by 1. And this is basically, and then depending on how many stones you have, you can either use the 25% or I wouldn't use the 35% until you get to, yeah, no, that one's bricked. See, this one's bricked, but I would still go ahead and make it into a fodder one. You feel me? Because I think it's worth it. We're going to go ahead and use this here. Sure, why not? Let's see. Maybe we can make a perfect blue one right now. Nope, not today, Shunny. You had one, and that's good enough. Yeah, the game was like, listen, buddy, you got your perfect sword today. Get the hell out of my face. So yeah, and then in the meantime, between now and the anniversary, I'm just going to be trying to make either a perfect blue or a perfect green, so that hopefully by the anniversary, I will be done for the most part with this set. And once I have enough of these fodders, I can reroll them all, and I'll have like 10% concentration on my swords, which is sick. That's absolutely sick. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know how much of this was brand new information to you and how much it's going to help you on your journey, building up your cards, building up your swords, building up your roster. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.